It is, yeah. Lots of work.
Okay, welcome everyone. We're gonna call the meeting to order. I would ask at this time, do we have any agenda items to add? I know we do have a few for our special public meeting.
Not for me.
Okay,
No.
I would ask for a motion to approve
So
the
moved.
agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded. The agenda is approved. We'll start with a gallery presentation from the Cape Breton Partnership. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you.
Blaine wasn't waiting. You're up right away.
Pardon?
You're up right away.
Yeah, I know.
Not wasting any time here.
Okay. The format seems to have jumped a little bit. Okay, so thanks everyone for inviting me to present here tonight. So the Cape Breton Partnership has been working to standardize our reporting to the CBREN and the CBRMREN to councils across the island, and what we've kind of landed on is a quarterly reporting format that aligns with the fiscal years. So this report that was included in your package is for Q3, and next report will cover January, February, and March, and will be in your package for April. And if you want me to come back and highlight some things there, I'm absolutely happy to do that. So I hope you've had a chance to read the report. I will highlight some, but not all of the items in the presentation, because I might be here a while. Okay, so just very briefly on the vision and mission of the Cape Breton Partnership. Yeah, so the vision is a thriving Cape Breton, and the mission is to transform Cape Breton and Ramaki into the most creative and prosperous place on earth. We do this by promoting our island as a great place to live, work, and invest, to grow a culture that values and celebrates creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And we strive to connect entrepreneurs and companies to the resources that they need to succeed. And just very briefly on how the Cape Breton Regional Enterprise Network is set up. So the CBREN includes Wagmatcook, Waccamaw, Eskasoni, Membertou, and Victoria County, Inverness County, Richmond County, and the town of Port Hawkesbury. And we're sort of divided between local staff and island-wide staff that also support the REN. So on the local side, we have local EDOs for Inverness County, which is Lynn McLennan, up to the left there. We have a local EDO for Victoria County, that's Parker Horton on the right. And then we have myself as the EDO for Richmond County and Port Hawkesbury. And then we have some local comm support by Carly Appleton, who's on the bottom left there. And then we're also supported by island-wide staff in the Cape Breton Partnership, and that includes the President and CEO, Tyler Mathis, our COO, Blair Billard, Director of Communications, Jeremy Martell, our Creative Economy Development Officer, Bill Culp, our Labour Market and Immigration Advisor, Kelly McKinnon, our HR Advisor, Justin McDonald, plus the rest of our Labour Market team, the rest of our comms team, and we also have staff coordinating our Welcome Network, our Connected Program, and the Cape Breton Local Immigration Partnership. Okay, so I've covered off some of the context around us as an organization. I'll get into some of the activities that the report highlights. So the activities in the report are roughly divided into 3 categories. So there's highlights and events, there's project updates, and there's upcoming events. So the report lists a number of events that took place between the 1st of October and the 31st of December. I won't go through them all, but I just want to mention a couple of note. So my colleague Bill Culp, his picture was on the previous slide there. He's the Creative Economy Development Officer for the island. He's been working to establish the Unamaki Motion Picture Cooperative to advocate for the creation of incentives to use Cape Breton Island as a filming location for TV and movie productions. And on the 11th and 12th of November, Bill hosted a tour for high-profile Hollywood film industry executives around the island, including a visit to the Fleur de Lis Tea Room and French United in Richmond County. On the 26th of October, the Cape Breton Partnership had its 2023 Investor Summit that took place at Inverary Resort in Baddeck. It was a sold-out event with 230 registrants and featuring panels and speakers on various topics. And the final event I'm going to highlight that took place was our offshore wind community engagement sections that took place across the island in December. And a session was held here at the Civic Centre in Port Hawkesbury on the 7th of December. So the next section of the report is the project updates, and there's a few in there too. And I'm just going to highlight a few of these, not all of them. Again, we can, if you have any questions, I'm happy to have a conversation afterwards. And even though this report covers to the end of December, I think it would be a bit silly here at, I don't know, three quarters through January to not give some updates that's happened in January since this report was finalized. So some of what I'm about to say is actually not captured in the report in front of you, but yeah, I just want to give you the most up-to-date information on this. So the top three projects there are also three strands under a broader umbrella of a Strait of Canso energy capacity building project, and that's delivered in partnership, as you know, between the town of Port Hawkesbury and the municipality of the County of Richmond. The town is, as you know, is a funder in this project as well. So there's three strands to it. The first one is a manager of energy sector development. So we had a successful recruiting process leading up to Christmas, and the position was offered just before Christmas to a successful candidate. His name is John Dickey. He has accepted. And he's most recently been a research associate with Dalhousie, and prior to that, he was with the Department of Economic Development and the Department of Energy with the province. And prior to this, he's been working in offshore energy for a long time in the private sector. John's starting date is 5th of February, and very excited for him to hit the ground running and get his support on these ever-growing files. The second strand under this project is the Strait of Canso Sustainable Infrastructure Strategy. So again, we had a procurement process in autumn and December, and again, not captured in your report is the successful bidder. This contract was awarded in early January to Waterford Energy Services out of Halifax. We actually have a project kickoff meeting this Thursday in 2 days, and after that, the project will get on and go. This project relies heavily on meaningful engagement with landowners and park users on the industrial parks around the Strait of Canso. Yeah, the final report on this is expected end of August, and it is built in to the tender document and the submission that once that is there, the consultants will be here presenting to council on that final report. The third strand under this project is the Offshore Wind Centre of Excellence. This is an RFP that's been out to tender since the 5th of December. That tender actually closed this afternoon today, and we've seen a good amount of interest. So pretty excited about that one. I'm just getting the scoring panel together to score these proposals, and we will award this by the 9th of February. And similarly, a final report is expected end of September on this one, and consultants will present findings to council there as well. I will just take a quick sip of water if you'll allow me.
Please do.
Thank you. Okay, so when John Dickey starts in post and he hits the ground running and he has some time to familiarize himself with some of these work packages, it is expected that he'll take over the sort of day-to-day management and facilitation of these projects from me, which then hopefully will free up my time to kind of work on some of these other things. And I just want to highlight one of these that I'm hoping certainly this spring I can dedicate quite a lot of time to, and that is the Strait.ca website. It's a priority this year for me, and the idea behind this website is to showcase industrial opportunities in the Strait of Canso. And the plan is to launch the website this spring with sort of a minimum of stuff required, and once it's launched, we want to build more onto the site as we go along. But in order for us to launch it, I want to develop some sector pages highlighting the sectors that we have around here, some infrastructure pages highlighting our road infrastructure, sea infrastructure, the airport, but also I want hopefully have a profile on each of the industrial and business parks around the Strait of Canso there. We want to have like an announcement feed that can link to announcements of Strait of Canso related stuff like public investments, public approval of environmental assessments for some of the developments that are here. And finally, sort of a page for relevant links and organizations. So that's the kind of bare minimum we want in order to launch. And then once it's launched, I want to develop some supply chain business profiles that are here. the chamber did some great work in getting some consultants in to do a promotional video for the Strait. However, that's a couple of years ago, so that needs updated. So we're going to work on that. I want to kind of create an interactive map data visualization tool for this. And finally, not specific to this, but something I really want to do is start developing a property available land marketing prospectus for the publicly owned land at Point Tupper, the business parks in town, like the light industrial park in Louisdale. And I'm hoping once we have some solid, good materials, good photos of the lots, all the specs in, all the contact details you want, that the Strait.ca could be the kind of host website for this. Okay, so that was just the project updates. Yeah, and briefly on upcoming events. So the Cape Breton Partnership team have staff at the International Council of Shopping Centres in Whistler, BC right now. We also had a team attend there last year, and it actually really led to some good conversation with retailers that was interested in all of Cape Breton, including Port Hawkesbury. And some of those conversations we're still having with some of these companies. And I just want to put a thought out there. It might be worth having my colleagues who are attending this provide an update or a bit of a sum up of this conference at a development advisory committee meeting in the next couple of months. Yeah, so I want to thank you all for your time. I'm happy to take any questions on either the presentation or the report as a whole. And I'm seeing that this is the first one of many, I hope. I'm also very happy to get feedback on the format of the report. Does this work for council? But I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Martin. And on behalf of council, congratulations on being a new dad.
Thank you very much.
That's a whole other presentation in it.
Oh yeah, that's for next month.
Yeah, for another night. Thanks first and foremost. I personally really like the format of the report, but we can certainly open up the floor for any questions or comments. Anybody want to go first?
Through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Martin, for the presentation. I read through it, and it's very good, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Councilor Corey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Martin, for the presentation. I know with the litany of projects that you've got listed in here that days and weeks must go by pretty quickly. Huh?
Sure.
Yeah, because it's amazing the amount of projects that are underway, and it's great to have that bit of description, and I do appreciate the report, and I too I like the format as well.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Martin. Lots of great information. I do like the format. I think it's short, and sweet, and to the point, which is nice, and great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I guess no questions, just compliments.
Thank you. You know where to reach me.
If you have other compliments you want to.
And Your Worship,
Yeah.
just to follow up, Martin, on your comment about the Whistler conference and your suggestion about having somebody come attend the development committee and present kind of a summary or something around that would be.
Yeah, I'll speak to you.
Yeah, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Just a quick question before you go. Any plans on leap year 2024?
On Cape Breton Partnership side?
Yeah.
Not
Not
to
yet?
my knowledge. I think there might be some murmurings and,
Sure, we can
budget talk and
connect
stuff.
on that
Yeah,
another
but
time, for sure.
nothing firm to my
Okay.
knowledge.
Sounds good. All right, thanks so much, Martin.
Thank you.
Have a great night. All right, so we're going to move on to council reports on assigned committees. We'll start with Councilor McQuarrie.
Thank you, Your Worship. The committee meetings that I took part in the last little while were January 10th, I participated in the first airport committee meeting. January 15th, we did have a really productive development committee meeting. On the 18th of January, last Thursday, we had a board meeting for Eastern Counties Regional Library. And on Friday, we had a monthly board meeting for Strait Area Transit.
Okay, thank you. And Deputy Mayor McIver.
Yes, Your Worship. Through you.
We met with Eastern District Planning, met Police Advisory, and I have an upcoming meeting Monday that was postponed from last Monday at the Waterfront Development. And I guess through you at the Police Committee meeting, we had brought up the issue of parking. And the RCMP will reach out to Terry that we have things in place. And it's legislated that they would do it anyway, look after it, they can.
Mhm.
So
Perfect.
that's the information.
I think Erin has another little update for us.
It'll be
too,
on-
for
it's on the
the
agenda,
special
so yeah.
public
Yes.
interest. Perfect. Thanks so much for your report, Councillor Flynn.
I had a nice slow month. I had Eastern District Planning. That was it.
There you go. And everybody has a copy of my committee of the whole report. I'm happy to answer any questions on that at any
You're
time.
not going to read it?
It wasn't a very lengthy report you gave us. Do you think you could go through it?
Melissa's always kind enough to post it online for anybody who wants to read it. Okay, so we'll, just to note that Erin is our acting CAO this evening. So over to you, Erin, to introduce staff presentations.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so over to Glory Snook, Manager of Facilities here, who's going to go through some exciting things that have happened in his department.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, brief report on facilities, practice and operations. Let's start at the Civic Center. Our portable backup generator has been awarded to Samson Equipment. As of this week, late last week, that equipment is on order with an expected ETA of somewhere in June. Got our summer student application off for summer jobs. Pretty much the same application that we put through last year with the same numbers. You'll see in your package there. Traditionally, we won't hear back until probably sometime mid-April for a May start. We got the art piece installed at the waterfront. I think everybody's aware of that by now. Beautiful big wave there, lots of positive comments on it. And we were able to, prior to the November 11th Remembrance Day service, we were able to update the some new names on the cenotaph for people who had served. Sports fields, playgrounds, splash pad are all closed, although some people still use our fields for recreation that they're just not used for their intended use, but they're used for winter use. They're closed for the season. Food bank, the additional geotechnical work at the food bank, the results are not as favorable as we thought they'd be, so there's more work that has to be done there. We just don't know how much or what that's gonna be to date. So we're waiting to hear between the Department of Environment and Stan Tech Engineering for a follow-up on that, but that information will be provided as soon as we get it. Some asphalt crack sealing was done back in October at the airport. See those little pictures there, just what happens when they come in and blow those, clean out those cracks and put the hot crack seal in. We did pretty much the worst of the worst to get us through another season. We also had some emergency patching. We had to do a couple spots that just broke away into nothing. So we got those done. OSHA was able to drop what they were doing at the time and get those done for us. So I don't think we missed too much down. We didn't miss too much usage at the airport because of that. They got right to us, so it was good. Just finalizing the details with a couple of contractors, which I have to pick one for the installation, supply and installation of an automatic gate at the airport. Should have that done this week. And we're still having some loss of power there at the main building. So we're working through Nova Scotia Power to try different things. They've been trying different things and they've been pretty good to be on top of that the last few weeks. But it's still happening, so we'll keep at them to see what we can finalize. It's not in my report, and maybe Councillor Coyne can confirm, but I think the new hangar is closed in now.
New hangar is closed in.
Yeah, so that part is done, and then the next phase of the new hangar will we'll start with probably some wiring and some groundwork to get it operational. Accessibility, we have some new committee members that we welcome back in the fall. We continue to get some good feedback from them. They're out around the community, bringing back some valuable information that we can look at and look for what our priorities would be moving into the summer of this summer of 24. So we're excited about that, and I think we're scheduled to meet later this month. So, yeah, some good things happening with accessibility. So I'll leave it at that. And if there's any questions.
Thanks, Cordy. Any questions for Cordy?
Through your worship.
That's their point.
The wave that was installed, that's stainless, is it correct?
It is.
So we're already seeing some rust on there.
Yeah, and the gentleman that did the wave, the artist, was actually on site a couple of times to treat it and clean it. I'm not sure what it's going to be long-term. If we had that discussion and we're looking at possible options, but he himself doesn't foresee it being a long-term issue. But I guess it's in a spot where it's certainly going to get lots of salt and stuff.
So I was down actually yesterday to look at it, and it looks like somebody was grinding it with a wheel that maybe shouldn't have been used on there. You can see the grinding wheel mark still on it, and that's where the rust is coming.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something that would be warranted from the manufacturer or not.
That was the artist himself did that work.
Stainless is not supposed to rust.
But we can certainly contact him and see if
Thank
there
you.
may be a long-term solution to make sure that that's going to be shiny and nice for a few years. It is going to weather, but
Thank you.
Any other questions for Cordy?
Just
Deputy
one,
Mayor?
your worship, through you, looking at the pictures of your asphalt, is there plans for more extensive paving at the airport?
maybe Aaron can speak on it a little more than I can. I think there is a plan. There's a long-term plan, but
I can speak to that through you, your worship. So, yeah, absolutely. We had a Stantec report done, which they did extensive testing of the runway, broke it up into sections, determined what pricing would be. We made a proposal to ACOA. We've also sent a proposal to the province through the Department of Economic Development. We followed up with them as recently as early January on what their level of contribution may be able to be. But it's a project with a value of about $5 million, which is not what we have in our airport reserve. It's much less than that. So we absolutely need to leverage a project of that size, which is why we're seeking that external funding. We've had positive conversations, but no confirmed funding at this point in time.
Thank you.
It's in the works though. Any other questions? Thank you so much for your
You're welcome.
presentation.
Thanks,
Deputy
Cordy.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Okay, so marketing, recreation, culture, and tourism. Michelle Farrow was not able to be here tonight, so I will just go really quickly through. Winter Flyer is out with lots of great winter activities for the citizens and folks in the area. So take a look at that. It's on our website as well. Corinne, I was going to make you do this, but I won't put you on the spot. I really want to highlight our first night celebration that Corinne has been doing for a number of years here. Very, very successful event, free, fun family event, all ages, and hugely successful in the area. Really, really good job for Corinne to pull this off time and time again. So kudos to Corinne, and yeah, just some really cool pictures of free family skate with a bunch of inflatables, bouncy castles and whatnot in the Bearhead, along with music and cookies and lots of excitement. And then to end the evening, a fireworks show at the Civic Center, which is pretty incredible for a small community like this to pull off, and a really small recreation team. So good work there. Website, so Michelle has worked towards modernizing and updating our both Town of Port Hawkesbury and Port Hawkesbury Civic Center website. So huge improvements to the visibility, the function of the websites, and yeah, really, really good, really more modern and up to date, easy to kind of maneuver through websites, which is really helpful and accessible. So good work on that. And just some upcoming shows. Island Girls are here, I believe, in April. High Society and the Privateers are here in March. There's a Tragically Hip tribute show, which I believe is also in April. And there is a music series happening here in the Shannon studio, starting in February, running for 4 weeks, not consecutive weeks, but different music opportunities here in this facility. That's happening, so pretty exciting. All right. Any questions on marketing, culture, recreation?
Just-
Yes, sir.
Through your worship, more of a comment. I was here for the New Year's celebration for the kids, and it was absolutely fabulous. Again, this year, there was people that came from Guysborough County, Richmond County, all through Route 19. There was people from all over, and one of the biggest things that I heard was the display on the ice surface, all the blow-ups and how well it was. And then the Bear Headroom was great. And then the fireworks was probably better than we have for the Festival of the Strait, to be honest. It was absolutely incredible. So kudos to Corinne and everybody who put that on. It was very well enjoyed by everybody and very well done.
Yeah, I definitely want to ditto that. There was a massive lineup in front of those inflatables, right up until 5 o'clock, and they're like, okay, Scotty O's here, time to put it away. I'm sure they would have bounced till midnight. That was very well done. Any other questions? Okay, back over to you for you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm just going to go through, there's a couple of, I'm not going to go through my whole report. You can read that, but I will highlight a couple of items. So in particular, the budget process. So as standard every year, we review our budget process and we talk about improvements or changes or things we want to consider for the current year process. So just to highlight last year's process. So we were a little bit late starting, so we're kind of back on track for timeline. But February 21st, 2023 is when we reviewed the process at the Committee of Whole with Council. March 7th was when we had our priority setting open discussion with Council on priorities for that upcoming budget year. I left 2 dates in here around the capital plan. So previously, the previous budget year, we had an approval of our capital plan in March 16th of 2022. Last year, we provided it April 18th of 2023. So looking to kind of bring that back online to look at a capital plan that's approved in advance of the operating budget, but that's open for discussion. April 11th last year was the delivery of the first draft of the operating budget to council and staff. Then throughout March, April, and May, we had deliberations on that plan, discussing all of the various items that are input into that plan, all the grants to organizations, donations, priorities of staff, council, from the community. And June 6th is when we ratified our public meeting. So just looking for some discussion or feedback on the process, if everybody's comfortable with the process. Again, I think that an earlier ratification in May of the operating plan and a ratification in March of the capital plan is the goal for this year, and I'm sure council is okay with that. There was some discussion on public engagement last year, which we can get into a little bit further if we want to, but just wondering if council has any input or feedback on the process, or if you're comfortable with the process that we've had to date. And we can talk about public engagement separately. Any input or feedback? Go ahead.
No, I'm fine with the capital getting done sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because it gets things done quicker.
Great. Councillor Quinn?
Ditto.
Great. Councillor McQuarrie?
Same here, Your Worship.
Great.
Good.
And just we had some discussion, which was, I think, a good discussion last year, but because we were a little bit delayed in our process, it was a little too close to try, I think it would have delayed our process. So we decided to discuss it again this year. I did have some conversation with local municipalities around us, and their process is pretty consistent with what we do. So public budget meetings, in-depth presentations of the budget at our committee of whole, and then again at our public meeting. But we could consider looking at some sort of a publication. We've done it in the past, post ratification, where we mail out or put on our website some highlights of our budget, which we could do again. We didn't get any feedback. I think I had one call on it when we've done it previously, but it's still a good document to provide some information for folks who are looking for that. We could also look at, although our budget ratification and discussion on our budget is part of our agenda, we could separately advertise that so that folks, it's upfront that we're discussing our budget and our priorities at this meeting and this meeting, in addition to our public budget meetings. But there are some municipalities like HRM who have more formal processes around presentations from the public on their priorities. It's just not something that we've seen a lot of locally. And Blaine and I did have a conversation about this, and I don't know if that's necessarily the direction we want to move in for this budget year, but Blaine, if you want to add.
Yeah, no, thank Your Worship, thank you, Aaron. Yeah, just to go back to last spring when this was brought forward, it was a result of an article that I had seen from HRM about their open consultation and process. And I had brought it forward just for consideration of council to see if council would be open to doing not necessarily a similar thing, but really just an open meeting for residents in the community to come and not to engage in a conversation back and forth about things, but for folks that have different ideas that they think should be priority for the town, that they would be given an opportunity to do that. And now Aaron has made a number of suggestions in terms of how we might proceed going forward. So I don't know if it's necessary, if the council wants to consider having a public meeting just for the purposes of people having input into our conversations around the budget or not. But I guess I just like to know what council thinks of that idea.
Any thoughts that we can share for Councilor McCrory's question?
Through your worship, I don't mind having a public meeting and listening to the residents to put forth their priorities, but I think if we do set something like that up, maybe we should set our priorities and maybe advertise them, because a lot of the public may have the same, and there wouldn't be so many have to come and present if that's the direction that we're going to go. Because I think we pretty much at our first meeting will set our priorities, like what we think should be done. But if we, like you said, I think advertise that, we may not get so many engaged in it if they know that we're going in that direction that they feel is right.
Can help kind of narrow focus.
Yeah.
So like, do you mean like our strategic priorities, like around housing, waterfront development, economic development? Those?
No, like more like what our budget priorities are. Like if, I guess paving is a big priority of council, like to do what we can, but to make sure that the general public know that this is a priority, rather than them have to come and present it to us. Like if we put that out first, if we did have such a public meeting, we may have residents come with different ideas, like, be able to present more quickly to us what they perceive to be their priority.
Yeah, I think in that sort of scenario, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't provide a little bit of context for citizens, because I think most citizens are maybe not aware of some of the constraints that we have as a town in terms of what kind of, like, what are our fixed costs and what is our flexibility in terms of what's left on budget. That will probably mitigate a lot of, okay, well, we need a state-of-the-art, covered, whatever. You know what I mean? Or a piece of really that should be like a regional piece of infrastructure, for example. I think that it could be a good opportunity to relay to citizens, what a municipal budget's all about. Like, and it would probably even help citizens understand what municipalities are actually in charge of versus what's provincial or what's federal. So there could be an educational component to it as well, for sure.
Through your worship, I like the idea. One thing I would like to see though is if we're going to go ahead with this, have the public submit what they would like to speak to by a certain date. I don't want to see 70 people here to present and them expecting to have a half hour each.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I think we're going to have to set some guidelines, and it'd be nice to know in advance what we're going to be hearing when we come through the door. Maybe there's some things that we have no control over, and we can have those conversations with the people that are putting it forward.
You can kind of pre-sort or triage what we can discuss and what really isn't within the municipal purview.
Yeah, I really think that an education piece and folks, I mean, you folks have been around this table and you understand how to set tax rates and how to, improve services, or what you need to do and what you need to maintain and what flexibility you have. And I really think that that's kind of the first step in being informed about the whole process, which I think is what we're trying to do. Try to advertise better when we're discussing the budget, advertise the meetings more clearly so that folks can get acquainted with the budget process and understand it before you come up with an idea that is not attainable or not under our control, right? So I just don't know, I think that the education and the information sharing piece is the first step in the engagement. And that might lead to, in future, budget processes, a more back and forth process. So that's just my thought on that, but happy to do whatever council thinks is appropriate. Go ahead.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Coyne, I think, from my perspective, it was this meeting would be an opportunity for citizens, residents come present, whatever ideas that they have, but it wouldn't be an engagement session. It wouldn't be like, it would be for us to be there and to listen to the presentations, but not to have a back and forth conversation, just for council's information. That's what my thoughts were on it. And I think that might be the better way to present. Maybe I'm assuming that you were thinking that we would get into conversations.
No.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking we were going to have conversation.
Okay.
It'd just be nice to
Heads
have a heads up.
Yeah.
And like I said, maybe there's some things there that we can't do anyway.
Right. Yep.
So we could reach out prior to, so they're not.
Yeah. And maybe step one is just like a simple survey, like here are some options, what are your top 3 priorities, or there's some things you'd like to see. So I don't know, there's all kinds of ways to engage that, I mean, in order for someone to come and present to council like that might not be everybody's cup of tea.
No.
Sometimes some folks would just like to maybe take 5 or 10 minutes and kind of contribute survey form, or just like an open, tell us what you think. It doesn't necessarily have to be checking off boxes and submitting survey style, but with the fancy new lovely website, maybe there is other ways that we can engage that might not be a presentation format, but we can definitely put some thought into it over the next couple of weeks, Erin, and I would invite you all to, if you have any ideas on different engagement pieces, maybe it's a couple of different types of engagement opportunities that we can use around budget, and maybe we might come across something that citizens are really enjoying, and it'll be trial and error. See what's the best way to engage the citizens of the town.
Just to your point, your worship, but Charlottetown, as part of their process, they do have an online survey that people can participate in, and it just closed. I went to have a look at it today, and it just closed up last week, so it wasn't accessible, but it'd be interesting
You
to
need to
see.
get a copy to see.
Yeah,
what they
to see
do.
what they have.
Yeah.
So is this something we want to pick back up at our priority setting session, just kind of on a conclusive direction on the type of engagement, and we'll all take it away and think about it, and then come back at that time and move forward with whatever the decision is at that point in time?
Absolutely.
Sounds good to me.
Great, perfect.
In the meantime, maybe we can start advertising some of our budget process. So it's out in the public before we actually start. Give them a couple of weeks to think about it.
Will people be as excited as us though, Jerry?
It sounds like it might be.
That's good. That's what we want. We want excitement and optimism.
So advertise our,
So it's just the educational piece that we were talking about.
Like what,
okay,
like maybe like an infograph, like what a municipal budget is. You know, this is our process. You know, just I guess, what's some of those critical pieces of information that would be a baseline for people to understand before they would submit maybe feedback on priorities, et cetera. You probably have some of that information because we've had past kind of sheets that
we do
kind
it
of-
every year.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we can build on that, but make it a little bit more,
Condensed.
yeah.
Build on
So instead of this is what we did, here, like, this is how we normally, like, this is what a municipal budget is all about type thing. See what I can do.
Okay, assessment trends. So I'm sure you've been hearing through the media, lots of folks have flutter with increases in assessment. So we've had downward trending assessments for many years, but consistent with provincial and national trends. We have increased again this year for the second time in a row, which is exciting. Yeah, so last year was really the first year we saw any notable growth on the commercial side. Typically, we've been in the decline, and we've been pretty flat on our residential. But our baseline year that we always look at is our 2014 year. And this year's assessment, so 2025's assessment versus the 2014 assessment, has increased 22% over that 11-year period. So on average, it's a 2% increase. Our commercial has increased 7% over that 11-year period, so on average it's a 0.6% increase on the commercial side. That's just shown graphically there. Over last year, we're seeing a 6.7, this is on the taxable residential and taxable commercial, a 6.6 increase in the residential assessment and a 7.9% increase in the commercial assessment. That's just under, like, about a $390,000 revenue that would equate to. Cape Breton, overall, obviously it has had growth similar to the rest of the province, where the 17% is including all of our assessments, doesn't consider the capped value, which is the taxable value. So this would be pre-cap numbers as well as exempt properties, so that's why it looks higher than what we reported in the previous slide. So yeah, overall, 55.7 million increase in assessment for us. Inverness is 446 million increase in assessment, 249 in Victoria and 223 in Richmond. So we're small potatoes compared to our neighbors, but nice to see healthy increases across the board here in Cape Breton. So encouraged to see these trends in assessment. These assessments are based on market values from January 1st, 2022. And again, there is significant concern being discussed provincially around the valuations of properties. Everybody is a bit of flutter based on the kind of increases, which is understandable. Helpful for those who are capped on the residential side, because the residential cap increase was 3.1% this year. So if you didn't do any amendments or have any permits on your property, you should really see only a 3.1% increase in your assessment that you're taxed on. But over the last number of years, our budget has been balanced by utilizing reserves because we haven't been seeing growth. So just this growth is normal, like that 6-7% is a normal growth. It's what you need in order to maintain your services. So we've been having to kind of really adjust priorities and really look internally significantly, which isn't a bad thing, in order to balance. And we have been having to pull money from our reserve to balance. So this growth this year, that percentage is something that, many municipalities have every year. We're just not used to seeing it. So this is normal to have assessment increases and have revenue to help balance budgets on an annual basis. Again, it's a provincial and national trend, and we have been lagging behind provincially in growth. We've been on the lower end of growth. As we stated before, over the last 11 years, our average growth on residential has been 2%, and our average growth on commercial has been 0.6%. Appeals process is currently open, so with, I think, the number of cap properties we have, so the properties that the market increases in their property were so low that the cap outgrew them, so they weren't capped. They were still capped under the cap program, but their cap value caught up to the market because we haven't been seeing those significant increases or really modest increases in market value. So we've been seeing that cap not having to be used because that value caught up. But we did see that come back in this year. So I think we went from over 300 properties being capped last year to over 900 this year because that market grew, but they were capped. So where the cap value would have been lower, that's the taxable value. So it's the first year that we've seen that number increase. It's been declining. So good sign for the market. And if you're in the market of selling property, it's a good position to be in. So that's on the assessments. Any questions?
Any questions for Erin?
Okay. Who wants to move on? Okay. And I'll ask Jason.
I like your short pause.
Yes. Jason to step forward and talk about
Thank you, Erin.
engineering projects.
Through you, your worship. I'm just going to, hit the highlights from our report, departmental report. You all had a chance to hopefully go through the report in extreme detail before the meeting.
Memorized.
Great. So just move to the next slide here.
Sure.
And, so this just shows some of the sidewalk work completed on Sydney Road and Pinecrest. There's some outstanding work remaining that'll be finished off in the spring. So, nice to see that piece of work done late. Picture showing some of the demolition work on our former Public Works building on Payne Street. So the dismantling of that structure is ongoing. We've recently just had the deadline for request for proposal exercise to supply the new Public Works building structure. So we're in the process of reviewing and evaluating those proposals. So that's ongoing. An additional procurement exercise that just recently closed last week as well is for an environmental assessment and registration class 1 undertaking for the land and water utilities. So this relates to the requirement to transfer water from one watershed to the other, the Little River Reservoir watershed to the Lander Lake watershed. So we're also evaluating and reviewing those proposals as well. I just wanted to touch on a little bit of the work of the Public Works staff lately. It's been a lot of time on water breaks, which is typical for this time of year. So again, we had another successful break repair this morning on Burnham Drive. So as long as they're successful, that's what we want to hear.
Well, it counts.
Yeah. The one of the other points in my report this month was about a briefing note that was provided on extended producer responsibility for paper products and packaging like products. That's quite a handle. And this is an initiative from the province and is administered through Deliver Nova Scotia. So the purpose of the briefing note, I'm just going to quickly hit the highlights of this, was to provide council with the status of the extended producer responsibility for paper products and packaging like products, and to seek a motion from council to register or opt into the program. In November of 2021, the provincial government passed the Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act. The act lays out a series of goals and transition to the province series of goals to transition the province to a healthier, greener, more sustainable future. In August of 23, the province released 2 EPR regulations for packaging paper products. One of the goals included the act, and Divert was appointed by the province to administer the program. So as part of the EPR program for municipalities that register or opt in, the recycling programs currently operated by the municipalities will be assumed by an organization that will act on behalf of the various packaging producers. Details will continue to be provided as the parties work through that process. So just to highlight some of the benefits, and this is province-wide benefits, it moves the physical and financial obligation for collecting, processing, and marketing residential curbside recyclables from the municipalities, onto the producers. It's projected to save municipalities in Nova Scotia $20 to $25 million annually, and standardizes curbside recycling programs through the province and incentivizes producers to reduce consumer packaging. So that's the main goal that the province wants to see in this. Divert Nova Scotia notes that town residents should not see a change to curbside recyclable collection, sorting, or pickup services. That's one of their main goals through this whole program. The transition to a new industry-led program is expected to take at least two years. For municipalities, the first phase requires that we register if we choose to participate, and provide data on our curbside recycling program that we currently have. The deadline was a couple of weeks ago, but we're okay. We've been in contact with Divert. There's no issue there. And it is recommended that, staff recommend that the town register for the new industry-led EPR for PPE program. And we're seeking a motion for consideration. The motion reads that the town will register for the extended producer responsibility program through Divert Nova Scotia, subject to contractual obligations with our current solid waste collection provider. Be happy to answer any questions.
So we will move Divert Nova Scotia we'll add it to our special public meeting for that motion. Any questions or comments?
No questions from me.
Thank you, Jason.
Great, thank you.
Does that conclude the CAO report, Sarah?
That does.
Okay. We will move on to other business. So winter parking restrictions. Erin will just give us a quick update that Terry was able to pass on some information for us to share with us.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we did attend the Police Advisory Committee. There was some conversation about ability to tow vehicles that were in contravention of Motor Vehicle Act during snow patrol at the last public meeting. Understanding that we don't have a bylaw for snow patrol, so it would fall under the Motor Vehicle Act. And at the Police Advisory Committee, Staff Sergeant Dave Warren said that is something that their staff would be able to do if there was obstruction to the ability to control snow. And Terry did have an opportunity to talk with Staff Sergeant Warren today, and they're going to be putting an article in the newspaper, I think the Reporter, just advertising that there's going to be stricter enforcement, including towing during snow events. And the town will be doing similar advertising, maybe in newspaper, we haven't decided what, or maybe social media or both. So then just ensure that the public is aware of the expectations and aware of the consequences of not following the winter patrol policy.
Thanks, Erin. Is there anything else you wanted to share from the meeting?
No,
That's,
I think we're
that covers
pretty
it
well
all?
covered. It's all
Perfect.
after.
Our next item under other business, we'll welcome Corrine up to do a presentation with the Strait Area Pool. Thanks in advance. to see some of the pictures.
See some of the
The
pictures?
baby one is my favorite.
Pictures are fun. You have to make it all fun.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so through your worship, I'm just going to provide some information about the Strait Area Pool as well as some usage statistics per area, and then Erin's going to jump in and provide us some of the financial information. So the Strait Area Pool is a regional facility that's supported the residents of the greater Strait Area for the past 40 years. Water safety and aquatic education is extremely important in our region. We live on an island. We're surrounded by water, beaches, lakes, and shoreline. We have a robust fishing industry. So improving the aquatic competence of our population lowers the risk associated with participating in aquatic activities, and we're teaching life-saving and lifelong skills. For 40 years, the Strait Area Pool has provided programs that increase aquatic competence levels for a variety of ages and abilities. We offer swimming lessons during the day, in the evenings, as well as on Saturdays. We also offer private and adult lessons, as well as water awareness and basic swimming skills in partnership with Autism Nova Scotia. Aquatics leadership programs are offered to instill skills in our youth who protect our beaches and pools as lifeguards. We're currently very fortunate to have an in-house instructor for Bronze Cross and Bronze Medallion. So there was a lot of training that happened in the fall. There was about 10 to 15 people trained. Currently this month we're training 5 individuals, and they're from all various municipalities. So some of them will work at our pool, some of them do work at our pool as lifeguards, and they'll work in the neighboring communities in the summertime and in the future. Wellness programs are offered, which are beneficial with an aging demographic and for those with rehabilitation needs. We offer a couple of different daytime and evening water exercise and water fitness programs, which have growing participation continually. Public swims are offered numerous times per week to provide additional opportunities to practice skill development and grow a comfort level in water. So we have public and lane swims, after school swims, parent taught, and senior swims at various times throughout the week. Registration and membership fees have remained at a reasonable level to provide inclusive programming. So registration for swimming lessons actually began yesterday for the winter session, and with some of the classes actually filled in under a minute.
Wow.
Yes, so with that being said, we do our best to accommodate the wait lists and add extra classes if we can, and you know, where they're needed, and if we can, yeah. Scheduling has considered the needs of rural municipalities to ensure programming was available for those traveling from outside municipalities. So our lessons and programs and different types of public swims are at various times, evenings, later on in the day, weekends. Birthday parties, group and school rentals are very popular within swimmers within many of our local communities. So our Saturday afternoons and our Sundays are quite full with birthday parties and group rentals and school rentals. We have some schools that come in bi-monthly. We have some that come in. We have some communities that come in once a week in the evening. The end of the year, come May and June, we're peppered with a lot of schools coming from all different municipalities. And we have some partnerships have been developed with groups such as Autism Nova Scotia Strait Area Chapter, as well as local schools to provide access to users with special needs. Okay, so I'm just going to review some of the regional participation numbers. So it's broken down on the top as the single registrations, and then below is the bather load. So for example, on the top, we had 407 individuals register for swimming lessons in Port Hawkesbury, which makes the bather load 1,628. So that goes through for all of the municipalities. So we've broken it down by lessons, swimming lessons, pool rentals, water exercise and water fitness, and our memberships. So with the stats combined, the usage percentage for Port Hawkesbury, actually I should mention this is for October, so this is this is kind of our last season, so October 2022 to May 2023, which basically encompasses the whole of last season. So the stats combined for Port Hawkesbury is 24% of the usage. Inverness County is 31%, Richmond County 32%, and other areas is 13%. It's also important to note that the Antigonish pool has been closed for quite some time now. So the other number is probably a little bit higher than it usually would be, just because we have a lot of users from the Antigonish area that might possibly be going to Antigonish. And then we compiled some numbers for this past season, so October to December, so this fall. And it's broken down the same single registration users as well as our bather load. And so for those 3 months, the usage is Port Hawkesbury 26%, Inverness County was also 26%, Richmond County 31%, and 17% was from outside the areas. And I think the next is you, Erin.
I can take over here. So just on the financials, we typically average between $110,000 and $130,000 deficit annually. That's been funded by ourselves, a larger portion, so usually $70,000 to $80,000. We have had sharing from Richmond County of $35,000 up to the March 31st, 2020 year, which we've been very fortunate to have, sharing of financials from neighboring municipalities. So they've been funding $35,000, and then since COVID, $17,500, and fortunate to have sharing from Inverness County, and that was up to $17,500 for the March 31st, 2020 year, and now it's at current level, it's around $10,000. Yeah, so I think what's important to look at too is our deficits were a bit higher in the earlier in this historical, so looking at 2018, March 31st, 2018 to March 31st, 2023, our deficits were in the 130 to 120 range in those older 3 periods. But in the last couple of years, our deficits have been around 110, so they were 110 for March 31st, 2022. And as well 110 for March 31st, 2023. So, it's a pretty efficient operation, and it's been, maintaining an efficient operation over the last number of years. And we are fortunate to have the facility within the school, because I think looking at this facility in a standalone facility or a facility where there's more responsibility around building maintenance, these numbers would be much, much higher. So, I mean, we're really lucky and fortunate to have a partnership with our neighboring municipalities, with our Strait Regional School Board or Strait Center for Education, and being able to provide this asset and services to our local residents and region. So that's it for financials. And just keep swimming. That's my favorite picture.
So I'll open up the floor for questions.
Again, not so much questions as comments. The staff does a great job down there at that pool, putting on the programs, and hearing that swimming lessons sold out in under a minute really speaks to the importance of the pool and the job that the staff there does. So kudos to them. Please pass that along. There's no doubt that this is a very important piece of infrastructure for the whole area, and I appreciate all the work you've done for this presentation. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Oh, Your Worship, I would just second Councillor Coyne's comments, Corinne, and it, as I should state, it's a valuable piece of infrastructure, valuable service that we have for our community and neighboring communities. And there's issues that we have to have conversations about, but appreciate having the numbers and that information, and to know how much uptake there is on the programming. You can see the parking lot on the weekend, like packed with the cars. We almost have to have another parking lot because it's all overflow and stuff. But anyhow, just fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
And through you, your worship, I would just echo the councillor's comments. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. It's an excellent presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. So flag raising, so basically every year, rather than having standalone motions for each individual flag raising request, Terry and Aaron have compiled, and Melissa, I'm sure, have compiled this year's flag raising dates. So for the benefit of council, these are what we are anticipating in terms of requests. So we will be adding the annual flag raising schedule to our special public meeting to ratify that. Any questions? So we will move on then. We have no approved additions. But for our future meeting, just a quick question, if council is open to doing a combined meeting for February 20th next month. I will be away, and the deputy mayor and I both discussed what would the best option be. So we thought a combined meeting might be great. That way I won't miss out on the council meeting. But again, it's up to council what you would prefer.
I have no problem with combined meeting, but I would like an update before February 20th on the meetings that we asked for 2 weeks ago, please.
Yeah, Aaron has an update on that as well.
Do you want me to provide that now?
Sure,
Okay,
yeah,
through your
absolutely.
worship. So we do have a discussion because at the last public meeting, there was a motion for the mayor, deputy mayor, and CAO to meet with the warden, deputy warden, and CAO of Inverness and Richmond County to set up a date to review agendas. We have a date of February 8th set for that with Richmond County. We had a discussion with the warden for Inverness County, and we'll be reaching out to their CAO this week to select a date for a discussion on that agenda and looking at timeline for those discussions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess we'll make sure that maybe Melissa will reach out just to make sure we have everything, all of our ducks in a row for February 20th for a combined meeting, because we will have to also work in bylaw policies meeting just but prior to that as well, as per our discussion in our earlier meeting this evening.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I would ask for a motion of adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Okay, meeting is adjourned.